Hello everybody, and welcome back to Pow Bam Sing. My name is Carl, and this is a review of Below Kryll. Below Kryll is a 2D side-scrolling adventure game about a ninja who throws knives and has a slashy sword. He goes through many different worlds, runs into occasional NPC characters who give him extra powers, and fights assorted monsters and solves puzzles which mostly crush him if he fails. Factually, I really don't know what else to say about this game, which puts me in a tight spot. On Steam, it has brilliant reviews and is probably the reason I bought the game in the first place years ago. I played through the first couple of levels for about 2 hours, stopped for some reason, and years later could never remember why. Only re-downloading it and jumping back into Below Kryll could I remember why this game fell down on my to-do list. First of all, the controls. They're really strange. It's the arrow keys to move, but only left to right, as the up key doesn't let you jump. That's the spacebar. So my right hand, which is normally controlling aiming with the mouse on a modern 2D side-scroller, is now controlling movement, and that's something that's hard for me to get used to. Meanwhile, the W and E keys are for your throwing knives and sword, respectively. So here you're off, using 2 buttons on the far right of the keyboard with your right hand controlling movement, which normally controls aiming the mouse, while your left hand controls throwing and slashing your weapons, but also jumping, which is considered movement in my opinion. So there's no dedication of one hand to any particular thing, and that mixes up my brain. It's also a bit uncomfortable, especially if you're playing on a laptop due to the smaller keyboard layout. But in this game's defense, I don't think laptops are made to cater for this style of gameplay. However, before long, one starts to get used to the controls or merely tolerate them, which distracts one from thinking what they are actually doing. I'm 3 levels into whatever story there is, only to discover that I don't have enough crystal things to move on. What are these crystal things? I don't know. So for another half hour, I goof around until I realize something. This strange quilt-like map is a map of the world, or rather under it, as the entirety of the world is basically a cave system below the surface, thus making the name Below Kryll more meaningful. So here's the hook of this game. Players can create a chunk of the world and publish it for everyone to play and integrate it into this cave system underneath the surface. This, in theory, makes a coherent world that is completely interconnected, yet vast and different because it has been created by hundreds of different people like yourself. Each arena is considered a level that one beats, and at the end of the level receives crystal things that level you up and open up the next plot line should you want to continue playing it. But I really didn't want to continue playing the story, not only because it is surprisingly difficult and roguelike in some areas, but also because I wasn't really interested in the story. I couldn't even find an option to start over to catch the bits I had forgotten 2 years ago when I first bought the game and abandoned it to live in my Steam library, so I tried to beat the 4th stealth mission level about 10 times, just about got it down, then the controls got the best of me and I slapped an enemy right in the face with my sword instead of stunning him with my throwing knife. Mission failed. So I permanently failed the mission by never playing it again. Instead, I resigned myself to building a sweet level that others could play. In order to do that, one must find an empty spot in the void that is level appropriate to one's own, and drop down into it to get the pop-up box asking if you want to pay the 2,000 gold it takes to be eligible to design a level. Fortunately, this gold is earned in-game and not some proprietary DLC nonsense. So I paid, having farted around long enough and slain enough gold-consuming squirrels to earn my creator rights. Having bought out your Kryll subterranean real estate, you're free to use a basic level editor with items, terrain, and NPCs to add. This part was the most fun for me, knowing that someone somewhere might actually play the level I designed to be a part of the grand underground known as Kryll. This, of course, challenged me to be as difficult as possible with my level to anybody who played it, and I think therein lies the next issue I have with this game. You see, with everyone creating a portion of the game, everyone wants to be unique. And by unique, I mean freaking difficult. Nobody wants to design an easy platforming level that's nice and fun and everyone has a good time. No. Everyone wants to be that level that people scream at and curse and throw their computers across the room. You see, with this game, you really could design a level impossible to beat, and nobody would know it's impossible to beat until they tried for 10 hours before finally realizing someone was trolling them. The line between difficult and impossible in these types of games are very small, so you don't know when you're 2 hours into a level if you're about to master one of the hardest levels in the game, or if Rick is at his rolling again. About halfway through making my level, I resigned not to be a jerk and just make a level that's challenging but actually fun. So no, you will not spend your weekend wondering if you can't beat my level by design or failure. It didn't take very long for me to reap the rewards of my reasonable level either. Not 18 hours after I had created it, someone had already played it, beat it, and then congratulated me on how much fun they had. It was pretty cool. It would take many, many hours to explore all the worlds of Kryll that everyone has contributed to, And I'm sure there are lots of good times along the way from people who genuinely want to contribute nice moments to a game. However, with the introduction of the variable of player creation, instead of getting a beautiful city like Coruscant, sometimes we end up with Mos Eisley. There's definitely fun to be found in Below Kryll, but also frustration and patience building. If you're the kind who likes retro roguelikes, puzzles, and thinking games, this is for you. Retro gamers, Mario lovers, and Donkey Kong fans will find this easy to pick up and rejoice at the ability to make their own barrel-pushing, platforming, brutal nirvana. As for me, it was fun for old time's sake, but I'm afraid this is going to find its way back into the bottom of my Steam library. As always, thank you for watching, have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you next time on Pow Bam Sing.